Okay, so we're holding chapter 7 of the Tanya. The previous chapter, we introduced there are 4 different levels of klipa. 4 levels of, which we described as the klipa is the husk, the shell, the thing that blocks, that prevents godliness from being seen, from being viewed with it. And we said that there are 3 unholy, impure, let's say they're all unholy, 3 impure levels of klipa, which these are levels that are incapable of being transformed. They're not able to become good. They're not able to be elevated in any way. They are stuck within the realms of klipa, of impurity. And then we mentioned there's another 4th level of klipa, which is referred to as klipat noga, which is a little bit different. That's what we're going to focus on now. We're going to talk about the klipat noga. So what does klipat noga mean? What does noga mean? Noga means radiant. That there's a little bit of radiance, there's a little bit of potential within the klipat noga. Whereas the 3 klipat and the 3 impure klipat have no potential of getting purified in any way. This 4th level, klipat noga, has the ability, because there's a little bit of good mixed in within it, therefore it has the ability of transforming itself and reaching holiness, reaching a higher level where it can leave the realm of klipa and go into the realm of holiness. So when we describe the klipa as being a husk, a shell, a hard outer layer, it is something that there's no potential for anything. It's like you have let's say a coconut, right? The outer husk, the outer shell of the coconut is something that has no potential to ever be edible in any way. Nobody's ever eating the outside of a coconut. But sometimes you have within the outer shell, there is an inner shell, a thin inner shell that is softer, that has the ability of being transformed and becoming edible in some way. Jerry, looks great on you. So this inner shell, this inner klipa, has the ability, through processing it, through cooking it, through preparing it in certain ways, it can become edible. It can become something that is useful. So klipat noga is like that thin inner shell, which can become something, which has the potential of becoming something useful, something good, something holy. So we described previously that from these 3 impure klipot comes all the negative things in this world, all the things like non-kosher food, and all the things that are not that are within the realm of being klipa, of being negative things. All those things come from the 3 impure klipot. Now we're talking about the 4th level, klipat noga. What comes from this level? Within klipat noga comes the source for all the animal souls. Whereas our godly soul is coming from kedusha, it's coming from holiness. The impure souls come from the shalosh klipat atmeot. Our animal souls come from klipat noga, from this level that has the potential of going either way. Also, kosher animals. A kosher animal has the potential of being something good or being something negative, as we'll talk more in this chapter. So it has the potential of going either way. Again, it comes from this level of klipat noga. And the same thing, plants and inanimate objects and many things that we see in this world, almost everything we see in this world has the potential of going either way, has the potential of being holy or staying within the realm of klipa. Included in this is, again, our thought, speech, and action. Our machshava, our dibur, and our maaseh. Our thought, speech, and action of everything that is just regular in this world, everything that is neutral, everything that is not a good thought or action, but it's also not a bad thought or action. Just any potential thought or action or speech that we do can be something good or it can be something negative. It has the potential of being a positive, or it can be just something that we do. So again, it comes from klipat noga. And even things that are just about our basic survival. Food, we eat food to eat, right? We need to live. You got to do your basic things that are just part of normal day-to-day life. It's part of survival. Even that is part of klipat noga. Because again, if it's not positive, if it's not about doing a mitzvah, if it's not about furthering the holiness, then there's no neutral. It's either right or left. If it's not part of kedusha, it's part of klipa. But it's not negative. It's not anything wrong. So therefore, it's klipa noga. It is that part that has the potential of going either way. In other words, a person can eat old bread, old crusty hard bread, and we can say that that is negative. That is klipa. Because he's doing it for himself. He's doing it because I want to eat. I'm hungry. I want this. Therefore, it becomes gross. It becomes nothingness. Whereas a person can be eating the finest cuisine. He can be eating fine meats and wine and enjoying a delicious bagel with cream cheese, but he's doing it to study Torah. He's doing it in order to serve God, in order to work in the holy realm. It becomes the greatest, holiest thing. So it's not about what we're eating, it's about how we're eating. And the same with everything else that we do in life. All of our different actions and thoughts and speech that we do, it's all about the intention of it. It's all about the intention. So when a person has a thought, speech, or action that is not done with the right intention, it is not done for the purpose of holiness, it's not done for the purpose of a mitzvah, of doing something good, then it's basically on the same level as the animal soul itself. The animal soul is klipat noga. This thought, speech, action is klipat noga. It's the same thing. It's no better than the actual animal soul. It's connected to it and it's part of it. It's one and the same. In fact, it's actually lower because the inanimate object is not able to choose one way or the other. Whereas you're making a conscious choice of going one way or the other, so therefore you're lowering yourself to that level. The problem with klipat noga is that it's much harder to distinguish, to figure out exactly what is what. It's a lot of gray areas. Black and white is easy for us, right? We can see this is black, this is white, this is good, this is bad. When you start dealing with grays, remember previously we said there is no gray. We're still saying there's no gray, but there's a gray from our perspective where we don't see, we can't tell the difference. Sometimes it gets blurred. And we have a hard time distinguishing and figuring out which way is this? Is it black or is it white? And this is much more difficult for us to work with because we're kind of on our own. So this is what the Alter Rebbe is telling us here in Tanya. He's telling us that there's no such thing as a middle ground. It's either within the realm of good. If it's not good, if it's not holy, it falls to the negative, it falls to the other side. There is a story of the Alter Rebbe, the author of the Tanya. After he wrote the Tanya, there's the famous story of his arrest. The Alter Rebbe was arrested and taken to jail in Tsarist Russia for having the audacity of teaching Torah. Right? He was informed onto the government. They made up some false allegations about him, and he was taken to prison. He went through a very difficult imprisonment until eventually he was completely exonerated and he was released. Actually happened to him twice. But at the time of his arrest, he knew that they were coming. He knew that it was imminent. They were about to arrive and arrest him. And he had to make a decision. What should he do? Should he run away and avoid getting arrested? Or should he stay and face the music, as they say, right? And he had to make this decision. He's deciding one way or the other. And as he's dealing with this, one of the great Hasidim, one of the great followers of the Alter Rebbe, his name was Rabbi Shmuel Munkes, came in to the Rebbe's study. So he saw that the Rebbe is trying to decide how to deal with it. And the Rebbe explained to him what the dilemma is. So he said, I think you should let them arrest you. Why? He says, in Gemara study, we say, Mima nafshach. Mima nafshach. It's an expression in the Gemara, which means basically, either way, it's gonna be the right answer. Why?
Say it again.
Mima nafshach. It's Aramaic more than Hebrew. It's yeah.
Okay.
Either way, getting arrested is the right answer. Why? If you're a Rebbe, if you're holy, if what you're teaching is correct, then what are you worried about? They can't hurt you. They can't control you. You're a great holy person. Everything's going to be fine. However, if you are not a Rebbe, you're not a holy person, and your teachings are not correct, then you deserve to go to prison for having taken away the pleasure of all of us from eating food in this world. You have taken away our pleasure, our right of having just eating good food and enjoying life. You've taken that away from us in the Tanya. Because the Alter Rebbe is teaching here that you can't just enjoy a bagel. You can't eat a bagel because you like bagels. If you want to eat a bagel, if you want to use the bagel in order to further your holiness, in order to do good things, to study Torah, then it's a good thing. But otherwise you made it into a negative thing that we can't have it. So he says you deserve it otherwise if it's not real. So in this world, we mentioned previously, there are 4 different worlds, right? There are different levels of worlds. There are holy worlds, and there's our materialistic world that we're in. There are different levels of worlds. In this world that we are in, the Klipat Noga is mostly bad. It's pretty much all negative. Look around the world. All the materialism that you see in the world around you, it's pretty much all negative. There is a little bit of good within it, a little potential. It's up to us to find that potential and to use it, to utilize that potential. But it's just a little bit of good mixed in, and that's what we are trying to work with. Included in this negative, included in the Klipat Noga, is even good things that we do, which we spoke about this previously in chapter 1 as well. When we do good things because it's our nature, when we do something good because I'm a good person, that's also Klipat Noga. If you do something if you do kindness because you're a kind person, we're not saying it's bad.
I'm listening.
We're saying it has the potential to go either way. You can use your kindness in a good way, or it can actually turn out to be negative. Because you're not doing it because it's holy, because it's right. You're doing it because that's what I do, because that's what I'm into. I'm doing it because that's my character trait. In other words, remember, the animal soul is not bad, it's an animal. What is an animal? An animal is about me, about my needs, about what I want. It's not because an animal doesn't do good because he's good. An animal does good because that's what the animal does. Everything the animal does is just because that's his nature. He just follows nature. So when we just follow our nature, we're being an animal. That's not the quality of a human being. The quality of a human being is having an intention in the things we do, not just doing it because that's what we do. In fact, the Talmud says that if we would not have received the Torah, there are many things we would have been able to learn from animals. We could have learned many good character traits from the animals. We could have learned modesty from a cat. We could have learned being respectful with other people's property from an ant. We could have learned to wash our hands from a raccoon. These are animals that are doing things.
If we're looking to be good people, though. Same thing.
Well, yeah, but also human nature is to look around us and to see, to follow what others are doing.
For the negative and the
For the negative and the positive. You see also for the positive. You know, if somebody, for example, why do we make announcements when somebody makes a donation?
When do we make an announcement?
Somebody makes a donation.
Right,
we put their name on a building, and we give them a lot of recognition for it. Yes, it's saying thank you and appreciation, but a bigger factor is other people should see and say, I also want to give, I also want to be part of this. I want to be included. People learn from each other.
Yep.
And if we didn't have a Torah giving us the guidance, we would have to find the guidance somewhere else. And it could have been from the animals. Because the animals have a certain character trait that we follow, and we do the same thing. King Saul, the first king of Israel, was commanded by God to destroy the nation of Amalek. Right? Nation of Amalek, they came and they attacked the Jewish people. They tried to eradicate the Jewish people. So God said to destroy the nation of Amalek. When King Saul went to fulfill that mission, he was told to destroy everything, the animals, everything should be destroyed. And then he saw the animals and he said, one second, why am I destroying all these animals? The animals, nothing wrong with the animals. Let me take these animals and bring them as sacrifices to God. Isn't that so much better? He had mercy on the animals and said, why should I just kill them and destroy them for no reason? Let's use them for something good. Let's use them as a sacrifice. He came back to Shmuel Hanavi, Samuel the prophet. He came back to Shmuel and he said, Shmuel, I did what you said. Shmuel said, no, you didn't. Why are there animals here? You were told to destroy everything. God doesn't want your sacrifices. You know what God wants? God wants you to listen to what he told you to do. He told you to do one thing. He didn't tell you to give him sacrifices. He doesn't want your sacrifices. He wants you to follow instructions. Your instruction was to destroy everything, not to bring back the animals for sacrifices. By doing that, you went against God. His intentions were great. He was being merciful. He was doing good things. He was trying to be nice. But it completely backfired because he was doing what he thought was a good thing. And we see this in everyday life all the time, where somebody is so focused on doing something that is good, that's right, because they want to do the right thing, and they don't realize that they're doing negative to somebody else. Imagine a teacher in a classroom, right? You see somebody struggling, so you put all your focus on this one child who's struggling in the classroom. What about the rest of them? What am I, chopped liver, right? That the expression? You can't lose yourself in trying to do something good. It can actually turn out to be negative because we're not doing it because it's right, because it's good. We're doing it because it feels good to me, because it feels right to me. And that's not the way we have to go about our lives. That's not the way we do holiness. That's not the way we make the world a better place. So Klipas Noga is all about potential. It has the potential to become holy. It has the potential to override all the negativity. Like we said, this world is mostly negative. The Klipat Noga in this world is pretty much negative. It's not that far removed from Shalosh Klipas Atmeis, from the three impure Klipot. It's almost on the same level. The only difference is the potential, that it has potential to override the negativity. The little bit of good within has the potential to override the negativity that is without. That's from the outside. That's blocking it all off. But through fulfilling the potential, through utilizing the potential within the Klipat Noga, we're able to override and overpower the evil, which is much greater within it. So like we said, a person can enjoy a good steak. You can have quality, expensive meat. You can be eating like a king. You can have delicious wine. You can have the best of the best, the best quality foods. And you're eating it for a good purpose. You're eating it in order to be able to study Torah, to broaden your mind. It says about Rava. Rava was one of the great sages of the Talmud. Rava says, and when I eat good meat and I drink good wine, it broadens my mind. I'm able to study the Torah better. So when he ate good meat and wine, he wasn't doing it because it tastes good. He wasn't doing it because he enjoys it. It wasn't just a ta'ava. It wasn't just something. It wasn't just something that he wanted to enjoy. He was eating it for the purpose of broadening his mind to study more Torah, which makes it a good thing, a quality. It puts it in the realm of kedusha, of holiness. Another example, if we eat that good meat and wine on Shabbat, it's a mitzvah to eat good food in honor of Shabbat. That's why we have a delicious Shabbat meal, right?
Yeah.
We do this because it's a mitzvah to enjoy the food on Shabbat. But we have to remember, it's so easy to get caught up in it and say, I'm enjoying Shabbat, I'm enjoying the food, it's so beautiful. And we forget that it's actually for Shabbat. It becomes more about us, right? It's a very fine line. It's a very fine line. It's very tricky to be able to differentiate which side of the line you're going on. When we take good food, take any food, it could be a piece of bread, or it can be the finest meat, or a bagel, whatever it is. When you take food and you eat that food for the purpose of holiness, you're eating it for God, that food becomes a sacrifice. You're taking the food, you're giving it as a sacrifice on the altar to God. What is a sacrifice? You take an animal that's mundane, materialistic, it's just an animal, right? Not good or bad, it's klipat noga. You take that animal, you bring that animal on the altar for God, and now that animal turns into holiness, it becomes kedusha. The same thing when we take any food and we use that food for the service of God, we're giving that food as a sacrifice to God. We're putting it up on the altar and bringing it as a sacrifice to God. This is why whenever we eat bread, you should always take the bread and dip it into a little bit of salt. Why do we dip the bread into salt? Like we do on Shabbat, we do everything, not just Shabbat.
Yeah.
Why do we dip the bread into salt? Because whenever they brought a sacrifice in the temple, they had to put salt. We don't bring a sacrifice without salt. So therefore, we don't eat bread because the bread is being brought as a sacrifice on the altar, which is our tables, is the altars we have today. So therefore, we put salt on the bread to prepare the sacrifice for God. And this is, in fact, the purpose of our entire Galut. Our sages say that the reason why we are here in Galut, in the exile, is in order for us to convert the world. We're here in order to convert the world. What does it mean to convert the world? We should go around and stand on street corners or go knock on doors and talk to people about converting to Judaism. That's not what we do. Convert also means converting the world itself. Taking the klipat noga of the world and transforming it, converting it to kedusha, to holiness. Take the things of the world, take the materialism and transform it, convert it into holiness, into kedusha. That's what it's all about. That is the purpose of our being here. That's our whole purpose in this world. Our sages say that the reason why gold was created, why do we have gold in this world? For one purpose. Gold was created in order to be able to build the Bet HaMikdash. We needed gold for the Bet HaMikdash. Therefore, we need gold in this world. And that's everything in this world. Everything we see around us is all here for the ultimate purpose of serving God. And that's what everything is for. That's why the world was created. It's all here for that one purpose. But this is all not so easy. It's actually very, very difficult. And it takes constant awareness. Everything has to be, what's that big keyword everybody uses today? Intentionality, right? Everything has to be intentional. Everything has to be with an intention. Everything has to be for a purpose. We don't just eat food, we eat food with an intention, with a purpose. It's very difficult. It's a very fine line, like we said. Everything has to be very, very clear, which is more than when we do a mitzvah. When you do a mitzvah without intentionality, if you do a mitzvah without being intentional in every thought, you did the mitzvah. The act itself was holy. When you gave charity to another person, whether you were thinking about refining the money in your hands or not, you gave it to another person, you helped that person, you did the mitzvah. Obviously, if you have intention, it's a much greater mitzvah. You should always do it with intention. But even if you didn't, it says that if a person is walking down the street and they lose $20, falls out of their pocket, and a poor person finds that $20, they have done the mitzvah of tzedakah. They have given charity. Even though they were so upset they lost the $20. They never intended to give it to somebody. If the guy would have asked for it, they would have said no. And now they're all upset they lost the $20. Yet the fact is, the poor man has what to eat today because he got the $20. So the mitzvah was done. So a mitzvah does not require intention. But Klipat Noga does. This gray area is much trickier. Here, if you don't have the intention, then it all goes down the tubes. Because you have to have thought it through. You have to have been done with the right intention. Otherwise, it falls into the other side. It goes to Sitra Achra, to the other side. A great rabbi once said that it's easier to study an entire tractate of the Talmud than it is to eat a meal. It's more difficult to eat a meal with the proper intentions. Every food that I'm taking am I really eating this because I want to study Torah, or am I eating this because I like it? And you have to constantly be thinking that I'm doing this for the right purpose. It's more difficult than going and studying a tractate of Talmud. Because you can study, your mind can just focus on the study. You don't have to worry about every little thing. But that intention is very hard. And this is not just food. We're using food as an example. Even something as silly as a joke. Saying a joke also is klipat noga. Because we said it's thought, speech, or action. The speech of a joke can go either way. Obviously, we're not talking about a bad joke. We're not talking about a joke that puts somebody down or it's improper or anything like that. We're talking about a joke, a regular, plain, clean joke, has the potential of being used for holiness. How can a joke be holy? A joke can bring happiness to the world. A joke makes people happy, makes people smile. Happiness is very important for a Jew, for a Torah. It says in the Torah, it says that God talks about the curses that are going to come to the people if they don't follow the Torah. Right? Torah says if you don't follow the Torah, these are the things. If you do follow, you'll have these good things. If you don't follow, these are the bad things that are going to happen. The words that the Torah uses is Tachat asher lo avadata b'simcha uvetuv levav. Since you did not serve God with happiness in a full heart. No, the literal meaning is that you had everything good and you didn't utilize it to serve God properly. But a deeper meaning is you did the service, you did whatever you had to do. You followed the rules, you did exactly what you were told to do. But you didn't do it with a happiness. You didn't do it with joy. You didn't serve God with joy. For that itself, of not serving God with joy, you deserve to receive all these negative things. Because when we serve God, it has to be with a full heart. We have to serve God with a love and a heart and a joy in serving God. That's what it's all about. There is an old expression that there is something that is not a sin, but is worse than a sin. Something that is not a mitzvah, but it is greater than a mitzvah. What is this? What is worse than a sin? What is greater than a mitzvah? The answer is sadness. There's no sin to be sad. But being sad is worse than a sin. And the same thing is happiness. Happiness is no clear mitzvah in the Torah to be happy. But being happy is greater than the greatest mitzvah. Because through being happy, through joy, we end up doing more mitzvahs. We end up stepping up. And through sadness, we end up getting dragged down and going down into the pits. So the greatest thing that we could do is be happy. So is a joke a negative thing? Is it silly? No, a joke can be a great thing. A joke is a way of making people happy, spreading joy in this world. It's a very good thing. It's very important to spread joy. But only if it's done for that purpose. It has to be done for the purpose of bringing joy to the world and making people happy.
This is for joy and for other
Beautiful. There is a story in the Talmud of a sage by the name of Rabbi Baroka. Rabbi Baroka was a great Torah sage, and he used to have conversations with Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Navi.
Casual.
Yeah, they would study together.
What's his name? Rabbi what?
Rabbi Baroka. So one day, Rabbi Baroka and Eliyahu Navi were strolling through the marketplace. As they're walking through the marketplace, Rabbi Baroka turns to Eliyahu and asks, all these people in the marketplace, are any of them here worthy of the world to come? Anybody here worthy of the world to come? Elijah says, no. Not a single person here is worthy of the world to come. As they continue walking, two more people walk into the marketplace. And Eliyahu says to Rabbi Baroka, he says, those two people, they're worthy. Those two people are worthy of the world to come. Now Baroka is very, very curious. Who are these guys? So he goes over to them and he says hello, and he asks them, so tell me, what do you guys do for a living? And they said, our job is basically a comedian. We make people happy. That's what we do. Our job is to bring joy to the world.
And traveling comedians have them.
Well, it was a jester.
Just,
Yeah, that was their job was to be a comedian, to bring joy to the world. And that for that reason, they earned a right to be in the world to come. So Klipat Noga has the potential of turning over and becoming good. It has the potential of transforming, of changing sides, switching sides from the side of Klipa, of Sitra Achra, of the other side, to switching sides to becoming part of Kedusha, of holiness, of godliness in this world. But because of that potential, if we don't utilize the potential, then it becomes worse than the worst Klipat. Because Shalosh Klipas Hatmeis, the impure Klipat, never had potential. But to take something that had potential and waste that potential, that's the worst thing we can do. To take something that has the potential and let it go to waste, it becomes the most negative thing. So again, this is a difficult, right? We're putting a difficult, we're setting up over here for a very difficult task to tell you that everything that we see in this world has the potential of being good, and we have the responsibility of making sure that we only use it in that way and we're able to transform it for good. Question is it possible? Is this a realistic expectation? Is this a fair expectation to have from us? Can we do it? Can we stand up to that? Can we really achieve this? The Alter Rebbe says yes. The Alter Rebbe says every single one of us has the potential to be a Beinoni, which, remember, this book is all about being a Beinoni. It's all about the middle path. He says this is not the job of a tzaddik. We're not talking about a tzaddik over here. A tzaddik can do what tzaddik is not. It's not a question for him. Tzaddik doesn't have any. He has no inner fight about which way to go. This is not an issue for him. This is talking to the Beinoni. It's talking to us that we have the potential of being on this level where everything that we do is done with the intention of making this world a better place, of doing good, of transforming the world into holiness. Chanoch, he's in the Torah, he's one of the 10 generations between Adam and Noah. Right? Chanoch was the father of Mr. Shelach, who was the great-grandfather of Noah. Chanoch was a shoemaker. He sewed shoes. That's what he did. With every stitch of his needle, as he was sewing the shoes, every stitch of the needle, he said, blessed is his name, forever and ever. He said that with every stitch. It became who he was. You know what it says about Chanoch? It says there, I believe, 10 people, I'm not sure if the number is correct, but something like that. There was, let's say, 10 people in this world who never died. 10 people who ascended to heaven without dying. Eliyahu Navi was one of them, by the way. Eliyahu Navi never died. He went up in a chariot of fire. Yaakov was a little different. It says Yaakov Lames, but Yaakov was buried. So it says Klenitori was buried. Chanoch was one of these people who never died. He never died. He went up to heaven alive. Why? What did he do to deserve that? He lived his life like an angel. He was an angel his whole life. If you're an angel here, you're an angel up there, you continue to live as an angel. Because Chanoch, his entire life, he turned materialistic things, he turned the shoes. As he was sewing the shoes, every stitch was, blessed is God's name. The shoes became holy. He transformed the world into holiness. He didn't do great things. He didn't go out and teach Torah to the world. He wasn't going and helping people. All he was doing was making shoes. But he made shoes with the intention of godliness, of holiness in the world. That's what everything was all about for him. And it's not beyond any of us. It's even a child. There are stories about children. There's a story of one of the grandchildren of the Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek was the third Chabad Rabbi. He had many sons and many grandchildren. Doesn't say which one of the grandchildren. One of his grandchildren was a child. I think he was a small child. And one day, somebody found this child. He's holding an apple and he's crying. So he says, "What's wrong?" He says, "The child crying." He says, "What's the problem?" He says, "I want to eat the apple." He says, "Okay, so you're holding the apple, eat it. What's the problem? You have the apple. Go ahead and eat it." He says, "But I can't eat it. My grandfather taught me that if I want an apple, I shouldn't have the apple because I want it. So I can't eat the apple because it's just something that I want." A small child. And he's holding himself back. He says, "I'm not going to eat the apple because I heard from my grandfather that that's not the way to do things." There's another story of the Rabbi Rashab. Rabbi Rashab was the fifth Chabad Rabbi when he was a child. He was about 8 years old. And one day there was a lot of people were in the shul. It was a packed shul, and they're waiting for his father, who was the Rabbi, to come in. It was a packed shul, and he's on one end of the room, and on the other end of the room there was like some water. There was some drinking water there. He was thirsty, so he pushed his way. The little child, he pushed his way through the whole room to get to the other side to get some water. So he goes to the other side. He takes a cup, fills it up halfway with water. He drinks it, pushes his way back to his place, and a few minutes later he comes back. He pushes his way all the way through. Takes another half a cup of water. So someone said to him, "If you were thirsty, you wanted a cup of water, take a cup of water. Why'd you take a half a cup, and then go back and then come back again for another half? Just drink a cup of water." He says, "No, my father taught me that if I want a cup of water, if I want a whole cup, I shouldn't take the whole cup at once. If it's a want to drink water, if I'm thirsty, I need water, you need water, but you don't need a whole cup. If you want a whole cup, take it in two shots, don't take it in one shot." So therefore, I went back to my place and I came back to get another half a cup of water. These are children we're talking about, right?
Yep.
Children who were
Yes.
who wrote to be ready.
Yes.
Aha.
The Alter Rebbe, the author of the Tanya, story about him. He once had a very distinguished guest coming to visit him in his home. It was Rabbi Shlomo Karliner. Shlomo Karliner was another great Hasidic master, another great Rebbe, and he was coming to visit the Alter Rebbe in his home. Before he came, everyone was preparing. They're getting the house ready. A very distinguished guest is coming. A holy man is coming to their home. And they prepared all the food and everything. And there was a pot of soup sitting on the stove. And it was cooking, and everybody wanted to be part of it. So first, the Alter Rebbe's wife comes in, and she makes sure to add some salt because she wants to improve the taste, make it better. She helped. And then along comes one of his sons come in and say, "Oh, I want to help. Put some salt." And along comes this person and that person. Everybody comes in and adds a little bit of salt. Everyone's trying to help. So what happens? Too many cooks, exactly. What happens? You end up with a pot of salt, right? So everyone's coming and adding salt, and by the time it gets served at the table, it's inedible. So they come, they serve the soup. The Alter Rebbe is sitting with his guest there, Shlomo Karliner, and they each get a bowl of soup, and the Alter Rebbe starts eating. He's eating his soup. And Shlomo takes his food, and he can't yet eat it. It's impossible to eat. So the Alter Rebbe turns to his guest and he says, "What's wrong? Why are you not eating the soup?" He says, "My friend, that's inedible. I can't eat it. It's so salty. How are you eating it? How are you sitting and eating the soup?" And the Alter Rebbe tells him that since I studied by our teacher, the Maggid, I have never once tasted food. I don't taste food anymore.
Wow.
I have dulled my ability to taste flavor. I don't taste salt. Makes no difference to me. I don't taste anything. I'm eating food for the purpose of transforming the food, not because I'm enjoying it. I have no pleasure in the food. Hey, we're talking about a great holy tzaddik here. This is not on our level. This is the level of the Alter Rabbi, the author of the Tanya. Say something.
No, just- Is that's not a level to look at our cheap.
No. That's why I said it. This is a great tzaddik. But I can tell you the story of someone on a slightly lower level. Also a great, we mentioned him before, Shmuel Munkis. He was a disciple, a follower of the Alter Rebbe. He was one who told him, that you should allow him to arrest you. Shmuel Munkis once had a guest over. He had a friend over at Paretz Chaim, another chassid, another disciple. And he made his friend a cup of coffee. They each had a cup of coffee. Poured a cup of coffee, and they sat down and he tastes the coffee. Bechain tastes the coffee, he spits it out. He realized that next to the coffee can, there was a can of it's called tabak. It's like a smelling. It's basically tobacco, but not really tobacco. But yeah, smelling salts, which is to say, it's similar color. It looks like coffee. It looks like ground coffee.
Okay.
Snuff.
Yeah.
Snuff. Yeah. See, there's a thing of snuff there, and Shmuel Munkis, by mistake, instead of putting in the coffee, he put snuff in. So his friend couldn't drink it. He says, disgusting. How do you drink it? He says, how are you drinking it? And again, he says also, since I went to the Alter Rebbe, I don't taste food.
Is that such a good thing? Hashem created the food to be enjoyed.
Right. So this is a level that not everyone is going to achieve this level, right? For most of us, we need the enjoyment, the pleasure of the food in order to fully engage with the food. When you're on a level that you don't need it, then there's no purpose to it. You can get everything you need from the food without the flavor of the food. Again, this is not for me and you. We need that flavor. Well, I'm talking about myself. I need the flavor in order to.
Hashem created flavor for a reason.
That's what she's saying.
For us to enjoy the food.
That's what she's saying. Yeah.
But to not get stuck at just the flavor part of it.
But it's nourishment so that you can study the Tanakh or any other whole.
But if you can get that nourishment without the flavor, it's I don't know if it's becoming a reality yet or if it's still sci-fi, but there's a lot of there's this concept of people getting nourishment without food and skipping the food. Without wasting energy on getting food, you can get an injection that will give you all the nourishment you need. You get yourself an IV and you can just have everything you need. Then no need to eat food because you can have everything you need.
No, thank you.
Right? Exactly. There's no life to that.
Capsules on
space. Yeah.
Yeah, like all the.
As I said, it's kind of between sci-fi and reality by now, right? Or you have the people that just have their protein shakes. They live off the protein shakes. There are people who do that. There are people that they are fine with that. They don't need the flavor in their lives. But I'm not one of them. I like some flavor in my food. I'm not quite there yet. So this is all someone who takes their food and uses it for the right purpose. Someone who eats their food to make it holy. They eat the food only in order to serve God and make it better. What about someone who doesn't do that? What about the guy who doesn't do that? He eats the food because he likes it.
They get overweight.
That too. But they eat the food because they like food. Because, they eat it out of lust, out of pleasure. Now, this food, like we said before, the food joins the impure klipot to become part of the shalosh klipot atmeis, becomes part of the impure klipot. And the body of the person who ate that food, that is now part of shalosh klipot atmeot, his body becomes a carrier for the shalosh klipot atmeot. His body that was previously part of klipot noga now becomes connected to the shalosh klipot atmeot. It becomes part of that impurity. But the good news is it only has to be temporarily.
Oh,
The body becomes the carrier of this impure klipot until he does tshuva. When he does tshuva, when he reconnects with his godly side, he elevates himself, and when he goes and he uses his energy to serve God, to pray, to study Torah, to do good deeds, at that moment, everything that gave him life up to that point that was not impure shifts back to being pure. So all the kosher food that we ate, all the kosher food that we ate until now, that we ate out of lust and pleasure, that became part of Shalosh Klipot HaTmeot, at the moment that you use it for good, at the moment that you turn the moment that you use your energy, your life force for good, for serving God, that food transforms to becoming something that gave you vitality in order to serve God in the future. It gave you that ability to continue serving God. So, Mark, explain your question. What do you mean by food made with love?
Yeah, I was thinking sometimes when you eat food made with love, it's delicious, but it's like I'm trying to place that in the schema of things where if the tzaddik is eating food not for the pleasure of it or the taste, what about food that is elevated to art and beauty through love? Where does that fall?
So, I mean, it doesn't really, I don't know if that changes as far as holiness. I mean, the love is great, and the love adds a lot to the enjoyment, the pleasure of it. But does it change the holiness of it? I'm not sure how it would.
That's just the question. I'm just
curious.
curious.
So I'm kind of throwing the question back at you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that would affect the holiness of it. I think that would still be the same as far as holiness.
For example, with the story of the shoemaker, what if a person is like the shoemaker, but with food?
Yeah. So okay. So you're saying the food is made with holiness.
Then does that become pleasurable?
So here's where it gets a little tricky, because you can have one food that can be holy for one person and unholy for another person. In other words, if let's say you were to invite a guest to your home, right, and you serve them food, now you're doing a mitzvah with that food, right? That food now becomes holy because you did a mitzvah by inviting guests into your home and giving them food and providing them with nourishment. But then what happens when that person eats that food out of lust and pleasure? For them, within them, in their body, the energy that they're getting is not holy energy, because although you did a mitzvah, they didn't. So the same food can be holy for you and not holy for somebody else.
But what if the person who's preparing the food is trying to intentionally transform the food into holiness?
Right. So that for them, they did it. Yeah. They've done the transformation by doing holy intentions, but the person who ate it also had to have those intentions.
The same way somebody who wore those shoes had to use it.
Exactly.
Places that
exactly. So those shoes, use an example of the shoes, like we mentioned before. When Hanoch made the shoes were holy because he was using holy intention. But if the person then would wear the shoes and use the shoes to go and rob a bank, that lost its holiness, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't.
I guess the big question is can that holy intention transform the object or the food or the shoes as kind of like a Shaktipat, a transmission of holiness for others?
So I don't think so. I think it has to be, each person has to have their own intention in order to keep it holy. I think you can have one object that's holy for one person and unholy for another, if one person had the intention, the other person didn't.
Okay, thank you.
I think it would have to be, it's the responsibility of each person who's utilizing it to make sure that they're having the intentions have to be as well. It's a good question, very interesting thought. I'd have to look at this more, but that's what makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And Pearl agrees. But great question. I'm looking at a little bit more, see if there's more to that I'm not catching. Okay. So just going to go a little bit further into the parak, and then we're only going to do half the chapter this week and finish the chapter in the next meeting. But for this one, so I do want to mention one more important aspect, which is, how do we say something is permitted in Hebrew?
Mutar.
Mutar. How do you say it's forbidden?
Asur.
Asur. What do the words asur and mutar really mean? What's their roots?
Asur means tied.
Asur means tied down. Mutar means untied. Right?
Okay.
Something is tied, it's asur. It's tied up. Something that is asur, something that is tied, means it is tied to the impurities. It's tied to the shalosh klipas hatmeah. It's tied to these 3 levels of impurity, even if you were to go and use. So using the same example we said before, where you ate the food out of pleasure and lust, and then you went and you used that energy afterwards for Torah, even though you didn't have the intention at the time. But later, you lived a life where you did things that were good, and you returned to God, and it's not like returning to God. You never left. You didn't do anything wrong, but you use the energy later on to serve God. It transforms itself over to Kedusha. Because it's untied, it's not tied to the shalosh klipas hatmeah, to the impurities. If you were to take non-kosher food and eat the non-kosher food, and even have the intention at the time that I'm going to use this energy to serve God, and then you go and you use the energy to serve God, it cannot transform. It's asur, it's tied down, it is connected to the shalosh klipas hatmeah, and it can never become untied. You can't release it, you can't transform it. It has no potential of becoming good. It's always going to be connected to the impurities. Mutar, on the other hand, is untied. Something that is untied has the ability to transform, to go over, switch sides, and become part of holiness, to become part of Kedusha. Think about minerals in the ground. You have minerals deep down in the ground. You have different kinds of minerals. Some minerals, you can dig them up and ready to use. They're beautiful, they're great. You can go and you have this, whatever you want to do with it, whatever. Some minerals, you dig them up, they still need a lot of processing before they're useful. You can't do anything with it at the moment. You have to make it, you have to process it. And then there are some minerals in the ground that are simply unusable. They were not able to get it out and refine it enough to be able to make it useful. Yeah, you can extract it, but you can't use it. It's not, you can dig it up from the ground, but you can't refine it enough to use it. It's never going to become something useful. So the same thing with us. Everything that we have, this entire world, we can take these minerals, but some of them are kedusha. Some of them are ready to use right away. Some of them we can process them, we can transform them from being klipa to being kedusha. But then there are some that are simply not useful. You can never transform the shalosh klipas hatmeah into something useful, into something holy. When we take food, we influence the food. When we eat the food with intention, either positive or negative or neither, we influence that food. We transform it from one level to the other. But what also at the same time, that food is transforming us. That food also has an effect on us. It takes us along for the ride. And therefore, we have to be very careful with the way we interact with the world, with the materialism of the world. We have to be very careful. I think we're going to stop here. We'll continue next week, B'ezrat Hashem.